We're pulling in the live stream now, and hopefully Fred will be right on and we'll rock and roll. In fact, I'll put myself on mute and give him a quick call, make sure he's not having any issues jumping on.
Okay, yeah, I confirmed with him this morning, but just check with him, please.
Knowing Fred, he's doing a deal between the time that you talked to him, Christine, and now.
Jeffrey, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm awake.
Yeah, how was your Inman conference?
You know, they actually stayed awake.
Yeah.
They stayed awake. And
Well, you know, everybody's very anxious to know how to navigate through these market fluctuations that we now find ourselves in. So I think it's good.
No, it was a good conference. I actually got an email last night. I've been invited to the one in Las Vegas.
Oh, fabulous.
So I'll have to see what my schedule looks like. But no, it was good. There were a few thousand agent brokers there. So
Fabulous.
That was nice. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you learn?
Well, I learned a few new restaurants I hadn't gone to.
Yeah.
You know, I got to meet some of the president and CEOs of the larger companies, which was nice. I got to network with some individuals, which that was my go-to.
Sure.
Learning wise, that the consensus was that the market is not as bad as people are saying it is.
Oh no, I mean, you know, in terms of number of transactions, you know, it's you know, it's maybe down, but it's not disastrous. And the supply demand ratios are still such that we don't have this huge downward pressure on pricing in any market. You know, maybe some a little more than others, but certainly in all of our Southern California markets, the inventory and demand ratios are such that we don't have any real downward pressure on pricing at all.
You still have 30,000 listings?
What's that?
Didn't you have like 30,000 listings at one time?
Oh, yeah. You know, Rancho Santa Fe used to average 200 to 250 listings at any given time. We're less than 70 right now.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. It's way down.
Sound like you need to get to work.
Good morning, Good morning. Fred Wilson is in the house. There's nothing I love more than catching up with my friend Fred, who is out there on the street finding business that's just amazing that almost everybody misses. So Fred, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for the wonderful intro.
And we're going to get I can't wait to hear your start of 2023. We all know it's an adjusted market, and yet the opportunity has never been greater if we're looking in the right place, talking to people in the right way. And I know you've got a system that you sent to Christine that we may go through, but in all honesty, I promoted this training as tune in as to learning how it is that somebody is selling a house a week, just talking to people. And like you say, and I love your humility. You say, look, I'm a derelict when it comes to marketing, technology, social media, but this one thing I do, if it's a work day for me, and I love that because you take a couple months off a year, if it's a work day for me, I'm going to talk to people in a certain way by design. It's a game, and this game produces results that are unbelievable. And I also said in the email to the group that you're doing this literally working 40 hours or less on your real estate practice a week because you have this amazing coaching program. You and your partner own a real estate company with some offices. So, I mean, that makes it even more remarkable. But so, there's the background, and fill us in on your journey. What's happened? We're a month into 2023. What do you see going on? What are you doing? What's happening? And we're all going to learn from this, gang. I'm at the stage of my real estate career that my ego can be checked at the door because there's people accomplishing so much more than I ever did. And let's face it, life's short. This isn't a dress rehearsal. This is our time. We're in the game now. And nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. We certainly aren't going to be in the game 50 years from now. So this is your time. And for me, one of the greatest gifts is the chance to continue to learn. In fact, I think I need to be a better learner in this business and a student in this business now than I've ever been. Fred, talk to us.
Hey, again, echoing the commentary of Mike, I think it was. I think the low inventory is the buoy at the moment. Certainly interest rates went up. Certainly the kooky COVID market dissipated last spring. But I'm still seeing business happening. So yes, prices might have softened because some of them had gotten beyond what made any sense at all, at least in our market. And so there was some fall off there. But generally, I think that there is business to be done. And this also speaks to the production model in a very direct sense, because just in quick review for everybody, the production model is 4 things. So we say 4 cornerstones because I like to refer to it as the foundation for success in real estate sales. Now, remember, I define success differently than pretty much anybody else you're going to talk to. So you got to factor that into everything I'm going to say today. I define success in real estate sales as the ability to wake up in the morning without a client, but to have a new client by the end of the day, whether it's a buyer or a seller. So that's what you're shooting for if you're following my coaching. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have, and that's called a now model, by the way, a now model. Every other coach, every brokerage, every manager, veteran, mentor is teaching, not that, they're teaching a future model, which is working today in some way to try and make the future pay somehow. And farming is an example of that. Social media is an example. So a traditional example and a modern example. Advertising, past client referral, building your database, email campaigns, newsletters. These are all future modeling. None of it's wrong. None of it's bad. But what is bad, Scott, and you can echo in on this if you want, is when an agent virtually goes broke over the time frame that it takes to get the future model to kick in.
Yep. They
should have the ability to be doing deals each month at a minimum. I mean, 30 days is a long time. If I'm not doing a few deals in a month, I'm not working. It's that simple. Because the way I work causes me to get what I call reveals. In other words, I'm able, as you alluded to in your warm-up to me, I'm able to identify and do business that other agents simply miss. And this is a skill thing. It's not a systems thing. Remember, future modeling, which is not bad in and of itself, is a systems thing and a time thing. And frankly, a cost thing, particularly when you start advertising. So in terms of a now model, you have to develop certain skills. And that first skill, there are just 4, really. The first skill has to do with mindset, and that is what you're thinking, how you're looking at the business. And this speaks directly to your preamble, Scott, because I know that there's business out there for me today. Most agents don't look at it that way. They realize they don't have any business today, so they future model. They spend their day to day trying to get business to come to them in the future. And that is virtually a never-ending loop. And oh, by the way, people, current statistics indicate that 87% of all new licensees, that would be an agent within their first 5 years in the business, are out of the business in that first 5 years due to financial stress. 87%. And then 3/4 of that group is really actually out in the first year to year and a half, gone. And very, very few of the remaining agents ever build what you would call a team successfully. Of the remaining agents, fewer than 7% build what you would call a viable team. So it's difficult. It's doable, but it's difficult. It takes time, money, effort, know-how. It's called breakage in business. It's a lot of breakage to get a future model to work. I'm not against a future model. What I'm against is someone going broke in the meantime. What I'm against is someone not doing another deal this month, let alone 2, 3, or 4, Scott. What I'm against is an agent not knowing how to go out and identify new business beginning today. So the production model addresses those concerns. But the first thing that has to happen is you have to get your head in the right space. And what's taught universally, and I agree with it, by the way, is you have to be positive. Being negative takes you out of the game. You're done. Being positive keeps you in the game. The problem is positivity doesn't get you paid. Positivity keeps you in the game. You have to elevate the way you're thinking. You have to plus positivity with an opportunative mindset. That doesn't mean opportunistic, by the way. Opportunism is the tendency to take the most expedient course of action, irregardless of ethics. Okay? But when you're opportunative, you've learned how opportunity works. You have learned how to tune into it more effectively and how to tap into it more often. And that's key. Remember, if you don't think there's opportunity for you today, you're probably not going to look for it today. But one of the revelations in my 20 years of studying opportunity, Scott, is the fact that opportunity is always available, but only in the present. And this shocks a lot of people. You see, there isn't any opportunity in the future. Why do you think that is? Anyone?
Anybody want to unmute? Throw out an answer to Fred?
I know it's counterintuitive to what's taught, but there is no opportunity in the future.
Well, I know there's a dynamic where opportunity I think is going to happen in the future doesn't show up because change happened in that person's life and it's no longer a need or an opportunity. And so I know that's a part of it.
That is a part of it. The simple answer is it's never in the future because you're never in the future.
You're in today.
You're in today.
Yeah.
The only time you can access opportunity is when it's today. So if you take yourself out of the game today with negativity or scarcity, meaning a scarcity mentality, you're done in terms of success. And remember how I'm defining success. Anybody remember how I'm defining success? It's a key definition. Putting people on the spot today, Scott.
Yeah, that's okay. Hey, this is interactive, so anybody can jump in. And I know we have a lot of people on a live feed with YouTube, but if you're on the Zoom, you can interact and jump in. And I see.
You said define opportunity?
Yes, versus the production model, how I define it. No, define success. Excuse me.
Oh, defines. Okay, by defining opportunities.
Well,
No,
that would be-
you uncover a need today.
There you go. Finding opportunity today.
Today.
Okay, we both got it right, Mike.
Getting there?
Yeah, there are different versions of the same thing. Again, my speak is the way I say it. The way I say it is success is the ability to identify new business now. So all the same, really, versus later. Now, when is later? Later is in the future. When is now? It's today,
The present.
the present. And so you have to get your mind around this if you're going to succeed regularly without killing yourself and without spending all your money and kind of going broke in the process and living off savings and maybe getting a HELOC on your house or whatever you're doing. If you want to make money, you have to develop the ability to do it today, not tomorrow. You're never in tomorrow, and that mindset causes you to stop looking today. You're trying to look into the future rather than what's going on right now, here, today. Before this call, I had changed the pool guy for my house. And on Tuesday, the new guy was there, and I got to talking to him. Turns out his brother is a real estate agent. And he would work with his brother. I even found out that he comps his brother on his pool. So I got into a discussion of discovery. And so I still owed the old guy, the previous man, his payment for the month of January. And so he came over this morning. And I walked with him out to his truck, and I wanted to thank him for his service. And you may wonder why I changed pool guys. He has guys with a route. And I kept getting new guys, and they weren't really paying attention to my needs. I wanted a guy I always knew I would have. So this new guy is going to be the only guy. And the old guy was a good guy, but it wasn't him. It was these guys he was assigning. So I said, Tony, so, are you getting away in the new year? I asked him a question about himself. And he said, well, in 33 years, I had only ever gotten away in any 1 year, never more than 6 days until last year. I said, really? How long did you get away last year? Now that's a technique. It's called the ask to listen technique. He said something, I listened to the answer, and I ask a question based on the answer. This is high skill, people. You need to know how to do this. So I said to him, how long were you away? And he said, 2 weeks. And I said, where did you go? Ask to listen technique. Okay. He said, I went to my ranch in Mexico. And I said, you have a ranch in Mexico? And he said, I do. And I'm building a new house down there. This is my pool guy. He's been saving his money all this time, smart with his money, cost of living cheaper down in Mexico. And I said, tell me about your ranch. And he gave me the whole thing. And then I said, are you happy with your home here? And he said, yeah. And I said, when will you be making the move? And he says, I'm going to retire in 3 or 4 years. And I said, well, will you be selling your house when you do that? And he said, yeah. And I said, who's your realtor? And he looked at me, he was funny. He said, well, it would be you. I said, good answer. But that's 3 or 4 years away. Right. And I said, until Anthony, who was the guy on my pool, who was a rookie at pools, no hard feelings. And if I can ever be, of help, I'll still try and refer people to you guys. And he said, and I said, how's Anthony working out for you? And he says, some training problems, but by and large, pretty good. And I said, where did he happen to move here from? And he said, Northern Cal. And I said, does he have a family? He says, yeah, he has a wife and 2 little girls. And I said, where does he live? And he goes, he's trying to buy a house. He needs to, could you help him? So now I'm going to help Anthony, right? The pool sub for Tony, the pool guy, find a house.
Whom you fired,
Who I fired, right? And again, this mindset is there's always opportunity there because everybody lives somewhere and everybody's changing. That means there's always flux. There's always possibilities happening, some of which are opportunities. And remember, an opportunity is simply a possibility of benefit as defined by you. So you have to start getting into discussions of discovery with people in a way that causes that reveal to rise to the surface. I call it an actionable direction. And you can then proceed in that direction. And when you do that regularly, day in and day out, something called cross-pollination starts to happen, Scott. That means I identify that Anthony needs to buy a house. And then I've been talking to someone else that has 5 houses they want to sell in bulk, but the price he wants is too much. So I'm going to call that guy and see if he'll let go of one of these because they would be in the budget for Anthony. And so that would be 2 transactions. And then the guy may say to me, can you still sell the other 4? And I might say, well, you're going to have to lower the price. And his life might have changed in a way where he's willing to do that. Or his partner may need to buy something or sell something. And it never stops. That's called perpetual production. And one thing starts to lead to another when you do this thing of talking with people in discovery mode each day. But here's the truth. Most agents hardly talk to anybody each day.
Yep.
And what we're taught now is communication. And I agree, but it's social media, it's text, it's email, it's internet advertising, it's digital this, digital that. And then when they have a conversation with somebody, they don't flip it into discovery. They go about their day and they do talk to some people here and there. Or if they're focused on prospecting, they have blinders on and they're in tunnel vision. They're door knocking. When do you plan on moving? Here's my card. On to the next house. And they're missing all the robustness of change that is happening in each person's life. That is what leads to reveals that indicate actionable directions that you could follow through on and that you could cross-correlate with other dots of information, bits of information. And that's how I do it. That's how the model works. And I got a text just this morning from a production modelist in LA. I'm going to find this here real quick because it just made me think of it. Where is it here? I already have about 8 or 9, 10 texts. I think I scrolled over it. Chris, here it is. And every day he texts me his numbers, people. Every day. So every day he knows I'm watching, right? He has some accountability that he otherwise wouldn't have. Oh, by the way, he's married and his wife has a independent contractor's job. She's a stunt woman for Hollywood. And he has 2 little kids. One's a 1.5 years old. The other is 3.5. I mean, he's motivated. And I get this text this morning, submitted 2 offers, two offers, right? He doesn't do any advertising. He's only 2 years in the business, but he's talking with people each day. And that's that second element. I said, you got to have the mentality. Then you have to have the practice of talking to people. Job 1 is talking to people. If you don't look at your job as talking to people, I submit to you, you're at risk in terms of doing any business in the near term. You might be that one that makes it all happen down the road someday, but the odds are greatly against that happening. I'm not going to say the odds are against you because you are not a statistic. You are an individual. And you are capable of amazing things. So I don't want to say the odds are against you, but the odds in the industry are against agents successfully getting across that effort from now business to future business. The difference is with now business, if you will do certain things in a certain way each day, you will start to identify actionable directions and start to do business. Another production modelist of mine, I've been training her for five months. She's in the program. And she went into escrow on her 7th deal yesterday. 7 deals in 5 months, complete rookie, 29 years old. Never sold real estate before. But she too sends me her numbers each day. And this is one of the 4 elements I was talking about. I talked about the opportunity. I talked about possibility. In other words, you don't have a chance if you aren't talking to people. So you got to be talking to people. And then doing it in discovery, the ask to listen technique, getting the flow of information to come your way in conversations, instead of what we're taught is putting on a show be making an impression, being the expert. We're taught to have information go away from us to the public. That's backwards. You have to learn how to get information to come your way. I don't mean research. I mean within a conversation. And there are skills specifically dedicated to making that happen. So you got to have that opportunity thing going on. You got to have that talking to people thing going on. You got to have that discovery thing going on. And then you got to have that urgency thing going on. Making today pay, staying on track. And most agents, let's face it, they don't have any accountability. They work for themselves. And the worst thing that can happen between an employer and an employee is that the employee quits, but then stays. And that's the average agent right there. They're not
Ooh,
really working, but they're still in the business.
boy, that
Hey,
is such
hey,
go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Fred, you
Yes.
know, I agree with everything you're saying, but when an agent gets up every morning, they have to decide where they're going to go to talk to a whole bunch of people.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example. Mike Ferry, when he first started in this business, he went to model home sites and he developed a survey, and he would stand out there, and everybody who walked by, he would survey them and ask the kinds of questions that you're talking about. So he would talk to people all day long and discover who was looking for a new house and who may be going to sell, but he had a place to go. They kicked him out eventually and all that. But where does an agent go to talk to 40 people a day or 30 people a day? Do they go to the shopping center and conduct a survey? Do they go to the grocery store and walk around and say hi? You know, do they go to a club? Do they go to their cycling club or their hiking club? Where do they actually go? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And Mike is a hoot, listen to his old
Oh,
stories.
listen, I knew him 30 years ago. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. And the challenge with Mike as a coach is he teaches future modeling.
Oh,
He
well,
teaches-
he does now. He didn't
Yeah,
used to. He didn't
He
used to.
teaches that it's a numbers game, and it is not. And he or she who talks to the most people wins, that kind of thing. And I don't teach that. I don't do that. I'm not a grinder. You know what I
No,
mean?
no.
Yeah.
But people have to know where to go when they get up every day.
That's true. That's true. And that's why in my production model program, we created something called the Wheel of Production off of my own business. But it's like the Wheel of Fortune on TV, everybody. And you spin it. And there are, I have like almost 50 categories on my personal wheel. But the point is you fill in spokes on your wheel with categories. So I would say pick anything having to do in any way with real estate to start. So architect, real estate attorney, builder, developer, escrow officer, mortgage officer, title rep, home warranty rep. Just fill it up with what I call warm categories. They're in some way, shape, or form related to real estate. All right. Then you could also add some other warm categories. The classic would be past clients, but let's say you're new. Okay. How about sphere of influence? These are people that you know somehow. And it could be friends and family, but you know more people than that. Okay. And you get your wheel filled out. And then what I do classically, my classic model is I spin the wheel 3 times in the morning. And then I make a note of which category it landed on. And then I have to call 5 people in that category that day. So right there, I am at 15.
Right.
Okay. Then early in the morning, by 10 a.m., I call 10 people in my sphere of influence. So I'm at 25 before other agents are even done with their morning yawn. Right? And there's a saying about, calling people on the phone. The phone is heavy until you lift it up. It's all about starting. Okay. And for that, it's all about, yes, knowing where to go, what to do, but it's also about motivation. I know that if I don't do this, I'm not going to make the kind of income I want to fund my life in the way I want to fund it. And that's not acceptable to me. Now, that may be acceptable to someone else. There's no right or wrong. It's just your truth. What's your truth? And my truth is, I want to make a lot of money every month. I want to make 100 grand plus every month. So I knew I got to be talking to people. So Where do you go? Well, I go to the phone, or I will do doors around a new listing or around a new sale. Okay. I don't do neighborhoods anymore. I used to, but it became a grind for me. I do open house on a great house every now and then, often with some trainees with me, and I make it a laboratory. We had one on Saturday. We had 37 people through.
Geez.
Wow, good for
Yeah.
you.
So, and you got to hear the case study on that house, by the way, guys. Oh my God, it'll curl your hair. But how quick that happened. It was 6 hours from knowing there was an opportunity to opening escrow. That's what I mean about now business, people. But anyway, so you could also do what I do, which is a term I coined, head knocking. That's improvisational, impromptu discussions with people. And I make a ton of money doing that, people. So it doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. It matters, am I open to opportunity in any situation instead of closed down to it automatically? Am I actually talking to people? And that's my thing, and that's my job. And am I doing it in discovery? Am I getting the flow of information coming my way rather than a survey, rather than handing out my card and promising to be of service, rather than telling them I'm number one, whatever. It's not about me. It's about them. Okay. And then I make sure that that happens each day that I'm scheduled to do it. Now, being human means I'm imperfect. And my imperfections are glaring to me, just like yours may be to you. Maybe they aren't so much to other people, but I have good days and I have bad days. And I have days where I don't want to talk to anybody. Screw it. But I can't help myself when I get on the phone with someone or I bump into someone. I've trained myself to find out about what's going on with them and to identify how change is affecting their life and to see if that change is affecting their real estate wants and needs in some way. And that is the high skill in the business. And that's why my batting average is so high. I only have to talk to 3 people to find a someday lead, and I only have to talk to 9 to find a 7-day lead. And it takes me 2.3 7-day leads to open an escrow. So you can see why I'm doing business all the time. It has nothing to do with advertising. It has nothing to do with branding. It has nothing to do with systems. These 4 skills: what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, talking to people, how I'm doing it in discovery mode, and am I actually doing it? Staying on track, being accountable to myself. And that's it. It is a fundamental, simple model that constitutes the foundation and architecture for success in real estate sales. If you define success, the ability to wake up today with nothing and have something going on by the end of the day, or at least by the end of the week, or criminy people, at least within 30 days.
And Fred, we've had several join after we've started. And for those that have joined a little bit late in the conversation, we started out with Fred defining success as the ability to identify business today.
Yes.
And on that point, one of the 4 foundations you just mentioned, the first one, your mindset, you said, I know, and I underline know, I know that there is business out there for me today. You know it experientially because you've literally lived it for so long.
Yes.
And seen this trend where you're literally closing a deal a week for 30 years with this one simple approach. And I think it's absolutely exciting, remarkable, and it's a reminder of the opportunity that's there for all of us today. If we'll just quit telling ourselves a story as to why the opportunity isn't there and just face the truth that it is there. And those bold few that embrace it and go after it are, the winners in this game. And you make it a game. I love the fact that, that you don't wake up wondering. It's a game. You're going to talk to 10 people in your sphere by 10 a.m. You're going to spin your wheel that are all these different groups of 5 to decide which 5. And we haven't got there yet, but I know that you end your day with a 5 at 5. But it's a game that you're playing. And gang, I need it to be a game, because a game isn't drudgery. A game is a challenge. And it is just such a different perspective and a way to walk through our real estate careers. So I mean, I'm loving it. Every time we talk about this, I'm just reminded that, hey, this is it. This is where the rubber meets the road. And you know, Fred, like you, I've coached agents so many years, and I moved. At first, I was focused on effort. Contacts lead to contracts, lead to closings. You remember that phrase, Fred? And
Yes.
you know, a coach
Contact to closing ratio.
Oh yeah, and it was just effort. Just talk to people. You know what happens with agents that do that?
They
They
quit.
do it. They find a great client. That great client doesn't work with them. Now, how motivated are you to go knock on 100 more doors? Now you're already projecting out another future failure. It's human nature,
Yeah.
as opposed to saying, no, it's not about effort first. It's about skill first.
I have a client, Scott, and he decided that he was going to hand out business cards at a mall in LA and he was going to do that for a year. And he did it. And he ended up with 7 transactions for the year, none he could attribute to the handing out of the cards. And he almost had a nervous breakdown after that year. Imagine how many no's he heard, people looking away, don't bother me, all day long. He handed out over 7,000 cards, right? And I was in LA and I said, let's go out and talk, let's go out and do some head knocking. And I found him a lead in 15 minutes. Now, maybe it was a lightning strike, but I don't think so. It's how you talk to people. Are you therefore talking to people? It's, are you open or closed to opportunity? Now, philosophically, all of you people listening, I know you believe in abundance, and I know you think opportunity is a good thing, and you're right. And I know that more is better. I agree. But that's where your mindset takes a bending left turn into scarcity, because you don't think it's here today. You don't think it's here, you think it's there. You don't think it's now, you think it's later. You think that you can work on it and get it to happen to you down the road. That's scarcity thinking. That's you by behavioral approach and mental approach admitting that there's no opportunity for you now. And that's on you. It's not about opportunity. It's about how you look at it. See, the challenge with real estate agents isn't lack of opportunity. The challenge is inability to identify it.
Wow. Man, amazing. And you mentioned head knocking. For those that didn't catch it earlier, that's one of Fred's group of 5. In his daily plan, he's got his little Rolodex of all these different groups of 5 and spins it to determine which 3 groups he's going to talk to that day. If one of them is head knocking, that's simply who you're talking to in line at Starbucks, or who you're talking to in a parking lot, or fill in the blank. Who you're talking to that was just a spontaneous running into somebody for some reason.
Talking to the pool guy.
There you go.
I mean, the FedEx man, taking out the trash, walking the dog, buying carpet. These are all case studies out of my recent business. Now, because I talk with people each day in discovery mode and I identify actionable directions, and I don't pressure anybody, I don't try and convert anybody, I don't try and get anybody to do anything, I don't try and sell or hustle anybody. The people I talk to have a better feeling about me.
Yep.
See, this is one of the myths in the business, people. You don't build rapport. That's not what you're trying to do. What you're trying to do is acquire rapport. And you can acquire rapport like that. Don't hustle people.
Just take an interest.
Take
Just
an
be
interest in
curious.
people. Your stock rises immediately. And so they then call me later. And that's, in a sense, future modeling, isn't it? But I'm not trying to make that happen overtly, although that is a fringe benefit of talking with people each day in discovery mode. This no pressure sales and this perpetual sales thing, and instead of trying to market yourself, it's self-marketing. It's very organic. And I like that. I like it when people call me and say, hey, do you remember me? You talked to me 4 months ago. You know, we liked you. Can you help us sell our house? Or we want to buy, or we're going to be in the desert. We'd like to see something. That happens to me regularly. Not because I'm sending things out or trying to impress people or be seen, but because when I talk to people, the impression I make is that I'm listening, that I am interested in them, and that I was talking about good things in terms of what could happen in real estate. So again, you get these benefits of long-term, but really the skill is about now term, near term. And it interests me, Scott, because we did have somebody from Agent Inc. join my production model about 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And that agent was lucky because we still have our beta pricing, and I'm going to call it Agent Inc. pricing right now, because we're going from $14.97 up to $28.97 this month for the program. And we're adding in an accountability tool, which is called not the numbers game, it's called the production game. And it is when agents will key in their daily numbers, and I'll be able to see them. And it's going to create some accountability. And they're also going to get an email in the morning. Okay, remember, whatever they're going to create what we call a talk to template throughout the day. And then the email is going to say, okay, remember, you need to talk to 10 people by 10 a.m. or 10 people by 2 p.m. or whatever it is. And then when they don't do it and they don't cue in their numbers, then they get an email say, where are you? Are you not doing this? Are you not in it anymore? Right? And so we're going to create a virtual accountability because agents seem to need that and want that. And but I will continue to stick with the beta price, Scott, for you guys, and include the production game. But once we release it, the software company's working on it now, and it's a big project actually.
Yeah,
but anyway,
very nice.
That's kind of an update on the housekeeping side.
Amazing. Any questions so far for Fred? If you're on the Zoom, you can participate and unmute. If you were on the YouTube live feed, you don't have that opportunity. But and I'm so happy we're recording all this, so everybody that didn't join in the beginning can go back and rewatch. But I mean, this is where the rubber meets the road. And it's so subtle, and it's missed by almost everybody in the business. And I love the freedom of not feeling as though I have to sell or perform for anybody. I'm just taking an interest in finding out what's going on in people's lives and knowing the truth that because change is happening every day in everybody's life and everybody lives somewhere. And Fred, your statement on your belief, I know that there is business out there for me today. Well, you know it experientially because you've lived it for so long. But can you imagine the power of Mike, of our group, embracing this and living it out? And you look ahead a month or 6 months, and everybody's saying, hey, I know now, I now know it too. I've done it. I'm doing it. I'm experiencing it. And, I've always loved simplicity. And in some ways I have a fault that I'll tend to reduce to the ridiculous sometimes just because I love simplicity. But, here's a picture of the beauty of simplicity when it comes to real estate sales. And, I'm loving it. So Fred, while people are deciding on whether they want to be bold and jump in and interact and ask a question, let's talk about 2023. What's that look like for you so far? You started talking about the story of your pool guy that you're not only going to sell his house in a few years, but one of his workers, you find out just talking to him that he actually has a need to buy right now for his family. And guys, if you missed the story, this is the pool guy that Fred met with this week that he's firing because the guy got so big, he has different workers coming to do the pool every week. And Fred wants a guy that it's the same guy every week. And so these are two people that you're firing that now want to work with you. That is just outrageous to me. in a good way.
Well, one deal that I closed last week, it was actually, let me count, it was 1, 2, 3, it was 3 sides altogether. But doing my model, one of the things I do is I talk to real estate agents. And this is a category that's overlooked by far too many real estate agents. It's a rich vein of information, getting a real estate agent talking to you in discovery, where they're spilling the beans on, what they see out there in the market, so to speak. And I had spoken to this one agent. A lot of times I'll do a hot sheet, and then if it's new, I'll talk to the agent. Or if it's long days on market, I love to talk to an agent when it's long days on market, because they're like, what's going to happen? I'm going to be fired, And so I had shown this one house to a client, and it was the client in December that I did that 6-hour to open escrow with. And I had shown her this house, and it was like at $1.8 million or so. And she really didn't want to go over $1.5 million. She could, but she had just sold her house in Palos Verdes, there in the LA area, and she had gotten less than she had hoped, and so her budget out here was tighter. So she didn't make an offer on that house, and I did like the house though, and I had another client call me and ask me the value of their house, and it's probably about a $5 million house. And I said, I know of a really great opportunity. He said, really? Tell me about it. So I told him about it, and he said, well, could I come see it? So he came to see it that afternoon, and the agent was there, and he says, I'll give you $1.5 million all cash, 2 weeks. And she goes, oh, I couldn't even present that to the seller, she said, which is of course risky, unless the seller said, you don't have to present. But she said she'd just scoff at it. Okay, fine. So we went away, and nothing happened with Jack, and nothing happened on that house. And Cynthia bought this other house. Okay, fine. So I'm going along. And so I see that the price had been reduced from $1.8 million down to like $1.75 million or something. And so I called that agent, because I saw this. And I said, Maggie, what's going on with, such and such? And she goes, oh gosh, I'm about ready to lose the listing. I've been trying to get the seller down. We did reduce it. I don't know if that's enough. And so I launch into my discovery mode with her. I say, well, Maggie, what do you think it's worth? And she says, well, I don't know. I certainly think we should be able to get $1.65 million. And she says, what do you think? And I said, I'm not sure that's going to happen. Maybe. She said, well, do you still have that guy? And I said, well, I don't think he's going to do anything, but I don't think he would raise his number over $1.5 million. And she said, well, I think she might go, she's spilling the beans to me, right? She said, I think she might go $1.6 million, maybe even $1.575 million. And I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to get you that. But if you want me to bring in $1.5 million, I'll see if I can do it. And she goes, well, I will present it and I will recommend it. Okay, that's a big difference than $1.8 million a month and a half ago, right? And so I make 7 phone calls. I tracked it. 7 phone calls. And in the 7 phone calls, I got a guy to make an all cash 14-day offer on this house, sight unseen.
$1.5 million. $1.5
million. And we get countered over the next 3 days, 3 times, and we hold at $1.5 million. And then she calls and she says, my seller's signing. And she signed it. Right? There's more. What had happened in the conversation with the agent that got me going on this was the idea that her client, the seller's mother, had fallen ill, and she was living in Australia, the mother, and she was 92. And so the woman was going to Australia for the next 3 months. And she said to her agent, get rid of the house.
Wow.
So I knew that, and nobody else knew that. This is what I mean about reveals. So here I am calling with a opportunity. That's an opportunity property. 2 people in my sphere of influence. 7. 1 makes an offer. We get it under contract. We come to remove contingencies. 10 days in, I had a 14-day close, 10-day removal of contingencies. And he balks. My guy balks. And I said, Al, what's going on? Well, my partner. And I said, what partner? Well, I have a business partner, and he thinks, it's going to be tricky, and maybe I shouldn't do it. So I said, okay, don't cancel. Just wait a day. Let me think about this. So I hang up and I ask myself, and this is what you got to train yourself to do, people. I asked myself, okay, in this situation that the escrow is about ready to explode, Where's the opportunity? It's there. You just don't know where. So I start asking myself questions. Well, what's he trying to do? He's trying to flip it. They're worried that by the time they put in their 200 grand and and the market's deflating and all the stuff people tell themselves. And the key factor I had learned was they were going to pay cash, but they decided to put a hard money loan on it. So poof, half the profit goes away into the hard money.
Yeah.
Right. And so I know they want to make money and they don't want risk. And so I said, Al, if I can make you $50,000 net outside of all costs and do that, by the time we close, will you flip it in escrow? He says, let me get this straight. I wouldn't have to pay my escrow fee. I wouldn't have to pay my commission. I wouldn't have any costs. I would net 50,000. He said, over what time? And I said, 90 days, which if you do the math, people, is a 20% return annualized. Yeah, I saw Mike's eyebrows go up there, right? And he said, let me talk to my partner. And I thought, okay, here we go. He calls me back. He says, we're in. So then I start calling people again. And third person in wants the house. And it was the woman I'd closed on the month before on the 6-hour deal. And she decided she didn't like the house. And remember, she'd seen this other house and she couldn't get it at $1.5 million back then, or even under $1.8 million. Now she could get it at under $1.6 million. So we added up all the freight. I presented it to her and she bought it and we closed last Friday. So I closed on Al on the purchase and then we flipped it in escrow and I closed on the gal and Al as the seller. So I got 3 commissions, right? Within days, all because I know the truth is there's always opportunity. That's not the question. The question is, where is the opportunity? Am I open to it or am I closed? Am I inquiring of it or not? Now, what I did is a very high level of agent craft. That's 30 plus years in the business. And most people don't know how to do it the way I did it. And I'm not teaching a seminar on how to flip in escrow. I'm simply saying, look what happened. Because I'm in the now and I'm tuned into opportunity and people's wants and needs. And I'm always in that mode of identifying and communicating relative to those things. And reveals happen and opportunities occur. And remember, people, you want more transactions. What that means to me is you want more bridges. What I mean is, what's the literal real estate definition of a transaction? It's a bridge between 2 pieces of action. And I had the house, that's one piece. And then I found the buyer, that's another piece. And then I did it again in one day and flipped the property. Now people could say, oh, well, Fred's a unicorn. Or they could say, yeah, but you knew that woman. Well, why did I know that woman? I'd done a deal with her. Why had I done that deal? Because I found out there was a property that we could get if we acted quick by talking to another agent. You see, the genesis of my deals starts with this opportunity is their mindset. And then the fact that I'm talking to people regularly and doing so in discovery mode and making that my pattern. That's how it happens. So that case study is crazy, but I brought in over $100,000 in income in 14 days. There's no reason other agents can't do that. And I don't mean the flip and escrow. I mean, talk to people in discovery mode and identify who wants to do what, where, when, with whom. That's called the big question in real estate. Have you ever heard that before, Scott? Who is going to do what, where, when, with whom? It's 5 sub questions. And every conversation I have with people, that's in the back of my mind. So I've said a lot. I'm on my soapbox. But the point is, I've got action, which means I have business. And because I know opportunity is there and I talk to people in discovery mode each day, I've got more business coming. I have 3 new listings coming in from the month of January here in February. So it's good and it works, but you have to work the model, which means you got to learn the model. And of course, I do my best with you, Scott, to train people on our calls. But remember, people, and I wanted to mention this earlier, I said only $1,500 for my online learning course, and that's 5 modules, 70 multimedia learning sessions. The entire production model is laid out for you, including the wheel of production, including talk to templates, including the production game. Okay. And that $1,500 is a lifetime license. It's not a monthly fee. And you get your live stream with me live every week, middle of the week, access to me, and you get a daily call Monday through Friday every day. You get a lot. It's a great value.
Which is also live.
It's recorded live, but I send it out because we found I was doing it originally at 7:30 in the morning, but a lot of people couldn't make it then. So we started recording it and posting it so they can get it anytime that day.
But it's real time.
It's real time.
Yeah. So the big question, who's going to do what, when, where, with whom?
Who, what, where, when, with whom?
Yep.
Fred, Chandler's asking what desert area are you in?
I'm in the Palm Springs, the Coachella Valley. I have an office also in the high desert and in Redlands and Fallbrook. But, you know, Indio La Quinta to Rancho Mirage, Palm Springs would be my backyard.
And Fred lives in La Quinta.
I live in La Quinta, that's right. And interestingly, Scott, you'll love this. On that open house where 37 people came in, a couple walked in and it was the Diamonds.
Oh yeah, good friends.
Your neighbors,
Yeah.
neighbors. Shows you how small the world really is with real estate.
It absolutely is. And it is amazing what happens every day when we just engage with our head in the right place, our belief and certainty that, you know, there are people with needs because of the changes in their life. I mean, I love the journey, Fred. I absolutely love the journey. And I look at the agony that so many real estate agents go through, not liking the game, not liking the journey, because they're not getting results. And so, come on, if you're not getting results, it's hard to believe that you can get results until you change your mindset, your approach. And yeah, this is just such a valuable time. We so appreciate you sharing your journey with us on a regular basis like this. And gang, so glad you tuned in. We actually have a minute and a half. If anybody has a closing thought or question or comment, we can field it. Christine, anything else in the chat?
And then I'll have a special opportunity for you and your crew, Scott.
Well, love that. And yeah, we'll continue our conversation next time. The truth is, this adjusted market is providing opportunities for us that weren't there a year ago when everybody thought it was the greatest market of all time, record sales, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? The majority of the agents that were out there actively engaged a year ago are discouraged. And like you said, Fred, they haven't quit on the roster, they've quit in their mind. And so even though they're still showing up on a real estate roster at a company they work for, they have quit in their mind and given up, which means that you're not competing against the agents you used to for the business that's out there. And by the way, the business hasn't gone from, it hasn't gone down 50%, 70%, it's gone down about a third. Actually, there's some recent numbers I was looking at this morning where our year-over-year sales decline right now in real time this morning is a smaller ratio than it's been in the last 3-4 months. And, just another absolute indicator and confirmation that what you've described, Fred, is happening literally every day. There are people that are buying, there are people that are selling. And boy, I don't want to lose sight of that reality because of all the noise I'm hearing about all these opinions and the economy and this and that. I've got to stay in this place.
Well, remember, there are two kinds of people mentally, those who think they can and those who think they can't. And they're both right.
Well, valuable hour, just such a valuable hour. congratulations, by the way, on all your successes, not just your real estate practice, your company, the production model training that's growing and growing. And boy, what a gift to be a part of this. So thank you so much, my friend. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. We did record this. Go back and watch. And we'll all continue this conversation. This isn't just, once a month or whatever with Fred. This is a chance to have this conversation ongoing, and we'll embrace it and live it out together. So,
And I will make an offer here to you, Scott, if you and your group, feel that you want to do it. But I would come to your main place of business and hold a seminar on opportunity. We'll call it Opportunity Now. And you'll get as many people as you can there from your company. And then you could use it as a recruiting tool and get other agents. And then we've got to figure out how to do a big Zoom on a big screen and get all the people around the country that are agent and coming in on their little feeds like here.
yeah.
And we'll do a couple hour seminar on how opportunity works.
Love
And
it.
how to develop and adopt an opportunity mindset. It is not just career changing, it's life changing.
Yeah, it is.
So I would do that for you, my friend.
Okay, we'll look forward to it.
It's up to
Thank
you.
everybody. And we'll connect again soon. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
So long.